You are Locked On Clippers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome to the Locked On Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. I am Pete Fox. Clippers with their first win at Intuit Dome. It is about time. God, I just thought they were going to go winless there at that multi-billion-dollar gem of an arena. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. You can also download the podcast wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Well, if you missed the first quarter of this game, you were lucky. You didn't miss anything because it was a disaster. They were down 40-14. The Spurs shot 70%. And anytime that happens in the first quarter, to me, I go, it's going to be tough to keep that up, right? And you have to feel some sense of confidence that there's no way they can. Harden kept playing defense, deflecting shots there in the first. They were trying to double Wemby. That wasn't working because whoever they left open was banging down shots. That Champagne guy, I think that's how you say it. Champagne. It looks like champagne with an IE at the end. That guy was hot for a good portion of the night, but the Clippers were sloppy with the ball. They went way cold for the good portion of the middle of that quarter, like 4 or 5 minutes there. They didn't score a basket. 0 for 7 during that stretch. They had problems offensive rebounding, giving the Spurs multiple opportunities. So the fact that they were able to withstand that and really come back and win this game comfortably, it wasn't really even close in the fourth quarter. 31-18, the deficit that the Spurs suffered in the fourth quarter, giving the Clippers a 113-104 win. Their first at their new arena, the Intuit Dome. James Harden got hot, but Coffey was the man of the night for the Clippers. Red hot from beyond the arc, 8 of 10 from the field, 5 of 6 for 21 points. And I'm assuming you have heard me talk about Brian Seaman before, the Clippers play-by-play announcer who had been the radio guy for many, many, many years, and is now the TV guy because of the retirement of the Clippers legendary TV guy that just hung it up. They moved Brian Seaman over to the TV call, and I'm a pretty big Brian Seaman fan, but I have discovered that he is much, much better and more entertaining on the radio, because the kind of goofiness that he brings to the broadcast on a regular basis fits better on the radio because he's painting a picture. Tonight, with Amir Coffey going off, the coffee puns were killing me. And I'm assuming that Amir Coffey has heard them all. Now, Brian Seaman is a very smart guy and came up with some good ones. The first one I heard called Amir Coffey the Brewmaster. Then he called him the Folger Soldier. Then he said he is going into the something Hall of Fame, the Brew Hall of Fame or something. He called him the Mud Soldier or something. Mud Man. I don't even know. He was digging so deep. I mean, Jim Jackson was like, you have outdone yourself tonight. Oh no, it wasn't the Brew Hall of Fame. It was the Brewseum. I'm like, let's just hope that you keep those in your back pocket for the next time Coffey goes off, and you're not doing that every time he hits a three. That will get tired so fast. I hope he got it out of his system tonight with calling Coffey the Brewmaster and the Folger Soldier and the newest member of the Clipper Bruiseum or whatever the heck, the Mud Man. And I think Brim, any chance he could use the word Brim. Oh God, it was out of control. Or he had it brewing. He's got it brewing, something brewing. It was still way, way, way too much. But without a doubt, a great night for Amir Coffey. Again, 21 points, a big part of the bucket list tonight. The second quarter started off the only way it really could, I think, for the Clippers to get back into this. An 18-2 run, fewer turnovers. Zubac's a nice dunk. Final couple of minutes of the second. Harden hit a buzzer beater in the final 3 seconds. It really wasn't a buzzer beater. The Clippers got it off, made the bucket. Spurs had an opportunity, but it was like a 3/4 court shot, which wasn't even close. But that was, they started the quarter nice. They finished the quarter nice, and they went into the break after being down 26. They were down only 8, 56-48 as they headed into the break. Then they come out of the break and sloppy ball movement. Zoo trying to back down Wemby. You got to appreciate that he was at least trying, but that Wembanyama character is just out of control. That dude is the real deal. I mean, as Brian Seaman described him, he is a cheat code for the game of basketball. Some of the alley-oops that Chris Paul were throwing to him weren't even close. And Wemby made it look just so easy, snaring the pass and slamming it down. I mean, there was one that was a good 4 feet above the rim, and Wembanyama just took it to the hole. No problem. I was like, wow, that guy makes it look easy. Has the ability to shoot the ball as well, but got a little bit over anxious from beyond the arc tonight. 2 of 9. Went through a little streak there where he missed 5 in a row, and that helped the Clippers out as well. But honestly, the thing that really was the big turning factor for the Clippers, and again, I credit a lot of this energy that you see from this Clipper team to the new arena, to the wall, to the fans, to the energy that is in the stadium, because you see so much more energy from this Clipper team than you're used to seeing when they are over at crypto.com. It's just remarkable. It is so noticeably different that the energy in that arena, the other teams talk about it. It's just a different world for them, and they are starting to thrive off of it. Now, look, it's their first win at home. But you can tell that it is going to be a home court advantage for them once they get Kawhi Leonard back, if they ever get Kawhi Leonard back. But I feel like this team is starting to come into their own. Van Gundy as the defensive coordinator, or whatever they're calling him, is really helping. They are playing some D. That fourth quarter defense, Chris Paul was forced into so many bad looks, at least 2 turnovers, if not more, making bad passes, looks that weren't even hitting the rim. I've never been a huge Chris Paul fan. When he was a member of the Clippers for 6 years, yeah, there was plenty of times when you thought they had a good looking team and they were dominant, but I never felt like Chris Paul had that innate ability to put a winning team together. And as you look around, wherever Chris Paul has been, not a winning team. And I feel like, again, he is going to be a guy that can score the ball. He's a knowledgeable basketball player. He's a good passer. But for whatever reason, I just feel like Chris Paul is not a glue guy. He is a divider. He makes teams worse. And you saw that again tonight. Some bad looks. Obviously, it's early in the season, and this Spurs team was awful last year. That's why they got the number 1 pick and got Wemby. So they're obviously trying to rebuild and put a winner together again. A very distinct winning culture there under Greg Popovich in San Antonio. So they're not used to being this bad. But they're a team, obviously, with a bunch of talent now and starting to put it together. as I assume that Chris Paul can't be long for this game. I think I heard them say that he is in his 20th year, which sounds about right. I mean, how many more years does Chris Paul think he can play? Obviously, he's still in good shape, but it to me, there were plenty of times when you look at that old Clipper team with Chris Paul and you go, yeah, he wasn't the guy that, helped them get better. He helped them improve as far as winning more games, but as far as becoming a winning franchise and growing a winning culture, it's not what Chris Paul is all about. I think Chris Paul is about Chris Paul, and any team that he has been on, they learn that pretty quickly. Look, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. He is a legendary player to be able to play 20 years in the league, but he's not a guy that you put on your team and think that he's going to help you win a championship. If he was, he would have won a championship by now. He has not. So I kind of felt like a lot of those turnovers and bad passes were expected. I was like, when he's going to start chucking up bad looks, he's going to start trying to force balls. And sure enough, he did. And it worked out for the Clippers. A 113-104 win, some solid D. Amir Coffey got going, burying threes. Norm Powell got hot, and we'll get into the bucket list and tell you about all of those shots, or most of them. Too many to fit all on the bucket list, which is right around the top 5. So we'll get to 5 and a few more. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers Postcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp tells me a bunch of things I can't say. What can I say about BetterHelp? Oh, I love these scripts. Here's all the things you can't say. Thank you for telling me all the things that I can't say. I can't say that. Sponsor, can't say that. BetterHelp. Take a moment to say thank you to someone in your life, including your therapist, if that's someone you'd like to shout out. Okay, that's supposed to be a note for me. Here we go. This month is all about gratitude. And along with the person I just shouted out, I didn't shout out anybody, but I did have a BetterHelp therapist. I don't remember his name, but he was very good. I've had many therapists. I've had them in person. I've had them online. And I'll tell you, it's not dramatically different. But I did go down the road working with a therapist on BetterHelp. And he was very helpful and pragmatic and helped me get through some tough stuff. It wasn't major life-changing stuff, but when there are things in your life that cause you frustration and unnecessary grief, this is where a therapist can come help you kind of sort through it, decide what is important, what is something you should worry about, and what is something you're wasting your energy worrying about. And that's what I appreciated about him most. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Clippers log their first win at Intuit Dome, led by Amir Coffey hitting 5 threes on the night. 21 points in all. Norman Powell led all for the Clippers with 23. He had 5 threes as well, but Coffey was hitting the clutch ones in the fourth quarter when they were in the middle of that big comeback. Norman Powell had a big one right at the start of the fourth quarter to make it a 4-point ball game. But the big ones, the clutch ones that caused Brian Seaman to have a pun meltdown on Amir Coffey's last name, were all in the fourth quarter, or most of them anyway. For number 5 on tonight's bucket list, Nicholas Batum hit a nice 3 at the 8:17 mark of the second. That made it 42-27. Again, the Clippers were down 26 at the end of the first quarter. So this was them climbing back into it. For number 4, Chris Dunn, a straightaway 3 at the 7:34 mark. That made it a 12-point ball game. 42-30 Spurs. Then Norm Powell hit a 3 under a minute. That made it a 9-point ball game, 54-45. Then Amir Coffey started to go off. Third quarter, I sang fourth quarter. It was third quarter. My bad. He did hit some in the fourth quarter as well, but the little run that he went on that helped the Clippers go on a run and get back into it started in the third and the final minute. 42 seconds, he hit a 3 to make it an 86-79 game. Then a few seconds, 20 seconds later, he hit another one to make it 86-82, a 4-point ball game. And for number 1 on the bucket list tonight, Coffey hit a 3 at the 7:43 mark of the fourth quarter to make it a 1-point ball game. And then right on the heels of that, 1A, Norm Powell hit a 3 at the 7:25 mark to give the Clippers the 93-91 lead, and they never trailed again. They were tied again, but never trailed again. The defense was good, but the offense, on the heels of a couple of turnovers that I was talking about from Chris Paul, the offense was sloppy and turned the ball right over again. So fortunately, I think Ty Lue did a very nice job calling a timeout right there. Their defense was locked in. They were playing good defense, but then they'd get the ball back and get sloppy with it and turn it over. And so it seemed like the defense was, or the bad offense rather, was canceling out the good defense. So he called a very appropriate, crucially timed timeout, and they came back out, turned the ball over again. But fortunately, they went on a right after that. They got it right back. The defense was locked in, active hands all over the place, lots of energy, as I mentioned. Then they went on a nice run. Coffey hit a 3. Dunn hit a 3 at the 5:30 mark. Zoo had an and one hammer dunk with his left hand. Then Harden hit a 3, got fouled, and missed the freaking free throw for the 4-point play at the 4:29 mark. That made it a 10-point ball game, and it was comfortably salted away at that point. They cruised to victory from there. But it was nice to see a huge comeback and, keyed by clutch shooting in the second half, because in the first half, all I could see was them trying to find somebody to make baskets. James Harden, when he was at the point with the ball, Chris Dunn was there a little bit, not as much as Harden, but Harden would be looking around and trying to find somebody open to throw the ball to shoot, because they didn't have anybody to shoot. And then Wemby in the paint was just taking up so much space and making life so hard on anybody in the paint, especially Zubac. Champagny was hot from beyond the arc. He finished the day going 5 of 10 from 3, 7 of 12 from the floor for 21 points. Wembanyama led the way for the Spurs, 9 of 22, 2 threes, 24 points. The bench play for the Spurs was not great. 2 guys in double figures, Castle and Johnson, with 11 and 10 respectively. But from there, not a whole lot. Barnum had 7 and Collins had 4. So Chris Paul, 6 of 11, 2 threes out of 7. So he missed 5 for 14 points. He had 4 turnovers. The Clippers were obviously in a bad way in the first half, in the first quarter, more specifically, not just their inability to score, but they were very sloppy with the basketball as well. 7 turnovers early. They really cleaned that up. Zubac had 4 of them. Harden had 3, and that's on the whole night. They had 11 in total. So that is some good recovering, good work there to clean that up after an ugly first quarter with the turnovers. And really the whole deal was not pretty in the first quarter. I was listening on the radio and I was like, wow, I bet this is a lot more painful to watch than it is to listen to. Sloppy ball movement. I mean, just everything about it. But in the second half, they figured out a way to disrupt the passing lanes. They figured out a way to score points in the paint, which was something that they had a tough time doing. And obviously a lot of that had to do with Wembanyama, but they figured it out. They put Norm Powell on Wemby at one point. It's like, yeah, way to go. I mean, Norm Powell is such a team guy, such a stud. He'll do whatever you want. Wembanyama did not have the ball at that point in time, but Norm was leaning on him, and it was like, yes, see, that's all you got to do is just lean on him, and it's easy from there. So I look at this Clipper team right now, and I say, I've mentioned this before. I'll continue to mention it. I like a lot of these new guys. I like the second unit they put in the second quarter. Again, that unit got them back into this game. They went on a nice run, an 18-2 run there in the second. Fewer turnovers. Harden started making baskets. Ball movement was nice. And a lot of that had to do with Derrick Jones Jr., who is a starter, but plays in that second unit along with Porter Jr., comes off the bench, and Jones and Batum. Those guys in the second quarter really do bring the energy, because aside from Batum, they're all young dudes, and they give Harden a little break right there. And I feel like that's a really solid unit that has the ability to, chip in crucial minutes later in the game as well. Terrence Mann did his thing early, hit the first bucket of the night, which was a 3, but from there didn't have a whole lot to say about this game. 19 minutes, 2 of 4, finishing with 5 points. We'll get to the entire box score after our final break. It's the Locked On Clippers Postcast. I'm Pete Fox. You can download us wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. All right, we got the FanDuel. Tonight's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to know to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I'm a big fan of live bets, especially if you're really close to a team. If you are a diehard, if you will, a fanatic, and you can kind of get a feeling about where the game is going, good or bad, a live bet is a lot of times kind of like inside information. So visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Well, the Clippers get their first win at Intuit Dome. Looks like a spectacular arena, and the fans were ready. They were deserving of a win. 113-104. Don't know if they'll be celebrating a Clippers championship with a parade like another team in LA did. BC still riding high. Go Dodgers. Not done celebrating just yet. I am really just so curious about what this team is going to look like when Kawhi Leonard comes back. I believe we'll see him at some point. Will it be in the middle of the season, January, February? Will it be playoff time? Will it be, if it's going to be playoff time, they're going to have to get him out there before the playoffs start to integrate him and, get him in game shape. Because, if he thinks he can come back in the last, 5 or 10 games of the season, he's sorely mistaken. It's not going to work out. So we got to get him out there. Look, if it means that we see him throughout a deeper playoff run than we had last year, which isn't saying much, that's just the second round. But if we see Kawhi Leonard out there for a playoff run, and that means we don't see him until February, I'm fine with that. This knee thing is lingering, and it didn't seem like it was a big deal last year, but turns out it was. And then he aggravated it this preseason. He did play 60 plus games last year, but when he was on the court at the end of the season, he was more of a liability than an asset. So that's not helpful. So if he comes back healthy and it's like in the next month, I'm going to be worried because I don't think we'll see him in the playoffs then. So let's keep him on the shelf till like January, February. I feel like this team is a pretty good team. They're not, top of the West caliber at this point. I feel like they're solid. They can be middle of the pack again. That's kind of where the Clippers usually hang out anyway. I haven't dug too deep into who is the class of the West. Obviously the Thunder, they're undefeated. Suns are good. I felt like didn't the Clippers beat them once already? Yeah, they're 1 losses to the Clippers. The Warriors 1 losses to the Clippers. Both of those teams are 6-1 at 2-3 in the West. Rockets are 4-3. Lakers are 4-3. Mavs are 4-3, and now the Clippers are 3-4. T-Wolves, Nuggets, Kings, and Grizz to round out the top 10 all have 4 wins. So that's 8 teams in the West. Sorry, 7 teams in the West with 4 wins. So I feel like the Thunder probably the best in the West. It's surprising that the T-Wolves have gotten off to this kind of start after the team they had last year. Obviously, Cat leaving is a big deal for them, so we'll see what we get from them. But I don't know if the Suns and the Warriors are the real deal. I feel like the Clippers can hang right at there in that 4, 5, 6 area. Mavericks, Lakers, I don't know what they're all about either. To me, if you got LeBron, you're always going to be pretty good, but they spend too much time worrying about Bronny and all of that and not really the actual team, the guys that are playing. And, with a rookie coach who's never, ever coached before, everyone thinks, oh, yeah. JJ's the real deal. It's like, come on. He's never coached anywhere. How often does that work out? Really? I'm sure he's a smart basketball guy. And I believe that he'll figure out a way to let LeBron be LeBron, right? But when it comes to crunch time, is he really going to be able to coach? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. Basketball is do they do that in baseball? Yeah, they do occasionally. But it seems like the guys in baseball that come and become the manager with very little experience have at least been an assistant or coached in the minor leagues or something. JJ Redick was an announcer last year, and now he's the coach. I just don't get it. I'm sorry. The Lakers they're one of those teams that just pull the ripcord. If it doesn't work after 1.5 years, 2 years, you're out. Sorry, we got to go find someone else. I believe JJ Redick will have the ripcord pulled on him in about 2 years. He'll finish this season. Maybe he makes it through next year, but I don't believe so. That's my prediction. JJ Redick does not make it through 2 full seasons as the Lakers coach. He will be gone just like all the rest of these guys. Even God, I'm forgetting his name now, that the former Suns coach who is now working for the Mavericks, who won a championship with them. Like, where's the love there? Guy took him to a championship and you're out. It's just, granted, I think that I'm pretty sure that was the COVID year, wasn't it? Or but anyway, yeah, it's just crazy. So I feel like the Clippers have a shot to kind of hang in that middle of the pack right there, stay out of the play-in tournament. And especially if they get Kawhi back, it's going to be a much better team. But they're still trying to figure out who they are at this point. Get comfortable with a whole bunch of new guys, start to gel, and incorporate those new guys into the starting rotation and have some fluidity and know their rotations and know what they're doing. So they're playing well. They're looking good at times. The defense has definitely improved, and that is a positive factor for them. As I've said a couple of times, finding a guy to score that is not named James Harden or Ivica Zubac is going to be a big thing for them. That third guy, who has been Norm Powell of late, is very, very important. They can't just rely on James Harden and Zubac. They have to have a third guy that can score, especially during a crucial period of the game when they are struggling or trying to finish a team off like they did tonight. Having Amir Coffey chip in as well is huge. Chris Dunn is a guy that can score as well. So if you can get 3 guys on a regular basis contributing and scoring, they're going to be just fine. They'll be fine without Kawhi Leonard for a good period of time. But if one of those guys gets hurt or starts to struggle, it's going to get ugly fast. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that it all keeps rolling the way that it is, because it does feel like they are getting better. They win today, their first win at the Intuit Dome, a comfortable victory over the Spurs, 113-104 the final. They are back at it on Wednesday with the Sixers in town. They'll tip that at 7:00, and I will be here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel right after the game to break it down for you. So join me then. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Have a good night. We will talk to you on Wednesday.